All right, guys, let's do a little interior overview of the Ferrari 812 Superfast. First things first, let's open the door. Steering wheel goes up, get back into the car, close the door, steering wheel goes back down. That helps you get in and out easier, I suppose, especially if you might be a little bit larger. You have to pardon my casual attire today. Anyways, let's take a look at the steering wheel. The steering wheel is a very unique philosophy with Ferrari because they believe in putting absolutely everything on the steering wheel. You've got your turn signals here, which you can also access from the back with this newer version. This is the sort of latest version of this style of interior. The newer version of the cars like the Roma and this SF90 have the brand new interior, but this is that sort of latest iteration of the last generation. And we've got our lights here. Let's turn this on. You can see the shift lights up top there, really cool. What I like about these ones is they shift to blue, and that's when you know you're at the absolute limit of your red line you need to shift. So it's great. You could see it in your peripheral vision. I really regret saying that word. All right, we have our flashers here, which I love. It's totally race car style. You got your wiper controls here. I really like, I know this is weird, I really like how these wipers work because they give the driver, they sort of favor the driver's field of view and how they clean your screen. You got your other controls here if you want to spray it. I'm not going to do that right now. You got your voice commands here. Let's put this back off there. Voice commands and your phone controls, which I guess is even more useful if you have CarPlay, which this car does not, because that is a, what, $4,500 option. Go Ferrari. One thing that they did, which I like, is they put the horn back in the center of the steering wheel because it used to be up here and you would accidentally hit it all the time, especially if you were driving the car kind of hard. This is the very famous bumpy road mode, and this softens the suspension. I guess Ferrari's philosophy on all of this is the car is always in sport mode. As you'll see, there's no comfort mode here. Wet might be the closest thing on the Manettino, but you're always in sport mode, and then you will soften it from there, and it does work really well, actually. And the interesting thing is that if you go to another mode, you will have to activate it again because it always assumes that that is the option. You always want the firmer suspension setting when you're in a Ferrari. You have the column-mounted shifters, which are in carbon fiber here. Again, I believe with this that if you don't have an alternate way to shift gears, column-mounted is probably the better way because no matter the steering lock that you have on your steering wheel, you can still know exactly how to shift up or down, which I think is pretty handy. Moving on here, got a little key holder here. Normally this is in my pocket, but I figured I'd just take it out. Ferrari totally has this this key that I imagine they really want you to sort of plop down on a bar counter so that you can show off. And they also want you to display it in the car, so they always create handy spots for you to place it there so that even if you're driving pretty hard, like that's very stable in there. Pardon the mask here, that's in the cup holder, and a penny for good luck. But you can fit a pretty big cup in here. They always have their window controls here. And here we have the only other things that you can control, because you'll go into gear just by pressing up, but you can go into reverse. You can switch from automatic, which is the default mode, into manual, which is good for when you want to drive fast. I actually leave this car in auto more than I'd like to admit because the fuel economy is so horrendous that the only hope I have is letting the car shift, and it will always short shift better than I will because the engine sounds so good. But obviously when I'm driving with any intensity, I much prefer using the paddles. And then you have PS, which is power start, aka launch control. With this being sort of a rear-wheel drive car, that works better if you have a very prepped track surface. Otherwise, I might struggle for grip. They have the updated, well, this is sort of the updated interior, if you will. This is that whole 458, 488 style thing, but just elevated. This is sort of the final iteration, and it's been refined with little touches here for quality of life, like being able to access the turn signal from the back, and, you know, putting the horn in the middle of the steering wheel, and the nicer shift lights, and the AC controls get a little upgrade. You finally get a screen because, you know, in 2018, which is the model year for this car, you'd expect to have a screen. Fairly straightforward controls. What I do like are these vents, which you could just sort of move around. It's very easy to place them exactly as you want. And of course, you need a reminder of the car that you're driving right here and right here. Now, underneath that is one of the coolest slash gimmickiest features ever, and this is a passenger screen, and your passenger can now get some information like what gear you're in, your revs. The G-force mirror just sort of shows you, it doesn't give you any readouts, which is a bit of a shame, but you can see the speed, which is always under the speed limit, of course, because I'm driving. Here you could control the media if you want. There's nothing available right now. The navigation, you know, it's a few little controls for your passenger. And then this is kind of cool. As you adjust the Manettino, it'll show you how the different systems are being affected. Again, kind of gimmicky, but this came with this car, and I thought that that was pretty cool. And when I have taken passengers for a drive, they quite like having this screen up so that they can compare notes with what's happening outside. Moving on, we have the sort of traditional side screens. This is a bit of a dated look, but it is very functional. You can get CarPlay on this if you want to spend an extra $4,500. That's right, $4,500 for CarPlay. Other than that, you can move the speedo over to this side, get some more information, and on this screen you can get various bits of information about your car. I'm a big fan of having tire pressures, and this also has tire temperature. Don't worry about that check engine light, it's not real. Let's take a look at these seats. I'll say these seats are pretty comfortable. They're definitely more beautiful than they are necessarily bolstered. I'd imagine that they're meant to cater to larger people, but they work fairly well, and they are fairly comfortable on longer trips. Back here we have a very, very handy feature, which is a nice little parcel shelf with some leather straps so you could strap things that you don't want to move around so much. You can also see some of the speakers of this JBL high-powered system, which is the optional extra, and it actually does sound really nice. No moonroof, sunroof to speak of, and I don't believe that's an option. You have to get the GTS if you want to see the sky in this platform. And you got fairly good visibility out of the back. It's not great, not terrible, because you got these pretty large C-pillars in the back here. But again, it's a pretty easy car to place in general. Very spacious cabin, lots of light. So I find it very easy to come to terms with this car. One thing that you can see, how sort of majestic and long the nose is on this car. And you definitely see that when you're driving around. It may make it feel a bit intimidating. I'd say the time it's the most intimidating is when you're sitting stationary. But when you move around, the car seems to just sort of shrink around you. Ferrari have done a very good job. I feel like a lot of modern cars, as they've gotten bigger and heavier, have gotten better at shrinking around you and sort of masking the weight. The one place where you will notice the weight of the car is when you go for the brakes, especially at triple-digit speeds, which obviously would be done at the track only. Moving on from there, I suppose the only thing left to discuss is storage. Got a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit in the back. This is a hatchback, which I showed in the exterior video. We have a funky glove box that you hit like that. And other than that, it's pretty standard. And that's the thing that's kind of nice about this car. Despite being this exotic, if you will. Do you guys think this is exotic? Let me know. You know, it's a fairly normal car. We have to do our straight pipes visor test, of course. I have to say, like, okay, so first, no mirror. Is that supercar pass? Perhaps. This is a bit flimsy, which is kind of not on par for the quality of everything else. There's nothing really flimsy about this car. This is total supercar fail. So yeah, sorry straight pipes guys. Or maybe that would be good, because that does make it more of a supercar. As we know, a visor test fail is a supercar pass. Passenger gets a mirror. So Ferrari believes that you should not be concerned with how you look. You should be concerned with driving. Because you have everything on the steering wheel, and your passenger can make sure that they are nice and touched up for you. But yeah, that's a basic overview of the interior of this car. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think this car is worth it. Let me know if you think this car is a supercar or not. Before I leave you, might as well start this up. And we have our 6.5 liter V12 firing up there. And actually, well, I really shouldn't rev it out, because the car has not been driven. And it also limits you, so you can't even see the shift lights or hear it that well. Say the car, by default, actually sounds a lot louder on the outside than it does on the inside. Again, the philosophy here is a bit more of a GT thing, but at the same time, you can always get an aftermarket exhaust and make this thing ridiculously loud, both interior and exterior sound-wise. I believe there's a Novatec exhaust. You guys could look up some videos on YouTube that make this thing sound straight up like a old V12 F1 car. It's pretty phenomenal. But yeah, let me leave you with that, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you guys like these, I will keep them coming. Catch you next time, guys. Bye.